think he's in. Start talking, so I'm going to start talking. Because our producer is currently hidden behind the scenes, we can't actually tell if he's telling us to go live or not. So I'm going to assume that we've gone live. So hello and welcome. Good afternoon to all of our wonderful, lovely people out there that are watching us, and welcome to My Umbrella's Under the Brolly Live, the wonderful podcast produced for you wonderful people out there in the LGBT plus community. The podcast itself aims to educate and inform the wider community about the lesser known LGBT plus identities, sexualities, genders, kinks and fetishes. And just a bit of background about who My Umbrella actually are. We are a volunteer-led support group which are based in Reading, Berkshire for the lesser known LGBT plus identities. We were launched by Reading Pride in 2015, and our aim is to educate, support and socialise, and we also aim to signpost those who require the support and advice from other organisations to relevant services and those who need it. The reason why we're doing this fantastic podcast live into your wonderful, wonderful living rooms, caravans, bedrooms and anywhere else that you're choosing to watch us is that in these unprecedented times, we at My Umbrella LGBT Plus feel that now it is even more important than ever to stay connected and entertained, to maintain a healthy mind and to stay positive. And sadly, with nearly all Pride events either looking like they're going to be postponed or cancelled for 2020, we know that many of you will feel a major part of your social life will be affected this summer. So, while we as a collective, that's the team of us, may not be able to run our workshops and attend our stalls as normal, we've decided to bring you the next best thing, which is our hard-working volunteers, apparently that's us, live streaming our Under the Brolly live podcast to your wonderful selves to share our experiences and interact with you lovely, lovely people. That's all the spiel done then. Marvellous. Great. Okay. So if you want to get involved in today's podcast, you can email us. It's really easy to do. We still use it. We're still keeping in touch using it. And if you want to, just drop us an email to info, that's INFO, at myumbrella.org.uk. You can also tweet us, and our handle is at MyUmbrella UK, and start your tweet with hashtag Under the Brolly. Or you can drop your comments into our live stream, which is on Facebook. That's that wonderful thing, Facebook, which took over from MySpace hundreds of years ago. And we'll do our very best to get to as many of these as possible. And Tom will be checking in on the live stream page as soon as we can get the internet working, which is great. I think it's come up now. Yay, it's all working. You can also find us on all other good social media platforms as well. Anyway, enough of me rabbiting on. I'm going to hand over to Tom now, who's going to allow you to meet our wonderful, wonderful team.
Hello. Yes, so as you heard, I'm Tom. This is my husband, Steve. We are in the Weston-super-Mare on this sunny Sunday in Studio A. You may notice that the layout this week is slightly different because we have Kerry in the middle this time. Yeah. Kerry is in Reading today, where she normally resides. And then on your far right, you'll see that we have Martin as well from Reading Pride. We do not have Chrissy today, unfortunately. She's working this Sunday. And we also have Mikey, who is unseen and unheard in the ether.
In the ether. In the ether. So out there, you can shout his name, and you can't hear him, but we can.
But please don't shout his name.
But he's making the techie stuff happen.
Yes,
as we speak. I have just got the chat room up running, so hopefully we'll get onto that in a second.
Amazing.
Just need to catch up with that.
Great. Yeah, I can do that a bit as well. There we are. We are scripted, kind of. But also let's say hello to today's main guest, which is Martin Cooper from Reading Pride, who you'll also see on an additional window. Martin, would you be kind enough to tell our lovely, lovely viewers a little bit about yourself?
Yes, certainly. Hi, everybody. I was recruited by Reading Pride back in 2017. A very glorious sunny year, and we've gone on since then, growing bigger and better. We were expected to have our biggest festival this year, but I'm sure I'll be able to elaborate a bit further on what we've got planned later on in the show. But I'm looking forward to speaking with everybody and getting engaged further with Reading Pride throughout this session and throughout the year.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Martin. We will be hearing a little bit more from you as well towards as we go through the show itself. And thank you so much for joining us today. We do greatly appreciate it. And There we are. Over to you, Tom, with the chat room
Yes,
update. Who've we got watching, and who do we recognise?
Well, till 2 seconds ago, I had no connection on here, so I didn't know what was going on. But now I've managed to catch up. We've got 20 people watching this very second, and that will probably change in another couple of seconds. But we've got Emily, we've got Chris, we've got Christina, we've got Kerry. That's you. Okay.
That's you.
We've got Haley giving us a wave. We've got. Yes, we are live. Hello. Yes, so if you are watching, please leave us a comment and say hello and tell us where you're from. We'd love to hear from you. And if there's anything that you'd like to comment on during the progress of the show, obviously let us know and we'll read it out at some point. May not be immediately, but we'll try and get through all the comments if we can.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Today's episode is actually one that we discussed in great detail a number of weeks ago, and with everything going on, and certainly we couldn't foresee the current events that have been going on in America with recent things happening and recent happenings themselves. We were in 2 months whether or not to actually do this event itself. So today's show will have a slightly more somber feel about it, as we are actually going to be commemorating and remembering the terrible tragedy that occurred 4 years ago on the 12th of June 2016 in Orlando, in a nightclub that was full of LGBT plus individuals and their allies. Now, I will give a trigger warning to those people out there that are of a disposition where they may not want to hear about some of the events that happened that time ago. If you don't, but you still want to stay tuned, then please, by all means, just mute your speakers. And then what I will do is at the end, when we've actually finished speaking about it, then I will make a T symbol such as that for you to be able to unmute your speakers so that you at least continue listening to what we're talking about. Over to you.
Yeah. Those who might need to be reminded or maybe aren't so familiar with the circumstances of today's episode, basically on the 12th of June 2016, Omar Mateen, a 29-year-old security guard, killed 49 people and wounded 53 others in a mass shooting inside Pulse, which is a gay nightclub in Orlando, in Florida. The Orlando Police Department officers shot and killed him after a 3-hour standoff. We've actually got a video kindly prepared for us by Barbara Poma from the One Pulse Foundation. The One Pulse Foundation was incorporated by the owners of the Pulse nightclub and was established to create a sanctuary of hope around this tragic day in American history, which honours the 49 lives that were taken, the 68 injured victims, the affected survivors, and the first responders and healthcare professionals who cared for the victims. This fund is intended to support construction and maintenance of the memorial, community grants to care for those survivors and of their families, an educational programme to promote among all segments of society, endows scholarships for each of the 49 angels, and ultimately a museum showcasing historic artifacts and stories from the event. All donations will be used for the construction and operation of the official memorial and museum and educational scholarships. This is a defining mission and healing initiative that we hope inspires supporters who share our vision and understand the sacred responsibility to which we have been entrusted.
Hello, I am Barbara Poma, founder and CEO of One Pulse Foundation. Pulse was a home for so many in our community. It was a safe space for everyone to come and be fully who they are. For some, the Pulse community was their family. On June 12, 2016, 49 angels sought the joy, love, and acceptance of Pulse nightclub. Instead, they found hatred, and they never came home. They were gay, straight, Latin, black, and white. They were mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, daughters, and sons, taken forever. In the aftermath of one of the deadliest mass shootings in modern American history and the nation's worst terror attack since 9/11, our community and the world came together to prove that love will overcome fear and hatred. It's under this banner One Pulse Foundation was created to establish a sanctuary of healing and a beacon of hope by memorializing the lives taken, the lives saved, and all the lives affected by the Pulse nightclub tragedy. ensuring Pulse's legacy of love lives on forever. Our mission is to create and support a memorial that opens hearts, a museum that opens minds, educational programs that open eyes, and legacy scholarships that open doors. We continue to make strides in creating a national memorial that will honor the 49 angels and all those affected, while also educating future generations on the profound impact the tragedy had on Orlando, the United States, and the world. Our museum and education center will educate, enlighten, inspire, reflection, and rumination, and start courageous conversations that will change mindsets. The Orlando Health Survivors Walk will trace the 3-block journey many victims and first responders took that night to get to Orlando Regional Medical Center. Our educational programs are committed to promoting acceptance and inclusion through innovative, reflective, experiential learning methods. Just a few weeks ago, we announced the first 49 recipients of our legacy scholarships that will honor our 49 angels. Working with the families and loved ones of those killed, we established the scholarships based on the respective angels' interests, careers, or aspirations. As an extension of their impact on our world, the scholarships will inspire and empower students who share similar dreams, ambitions, and goals. We stand with the families of those whose lives were tragically taken and honor everyone who survived and the brave first responders who sacrificed so much to save so many. We come together as a symbol of strength and solidarity in the face of tragedy, forever proving that we will not let hate win. Our goal is to make change, to defeat hate, to ensure that Orlando's incredible legacy of love, hope, unity, acceptance, courage, and strength is shared with the world. Our community came together in so many ways following the tragedy, and the world joined us. We believe that it is our important responsibility to tell the story for future generations so that we don't ever risk the tragedy being erased entirely over time. We are the keepers of the story, but in the future, it is the memorial that will continue the legacy when we are no longer here to do so. It's our mission to pay tribute to all those affected and engage and educate people from around the world, serving as a catalyst for positive change. We hope these conversations and give people of all ages and backgrounds the tools that they need to learn about and promote acceptance. Education and awareness are central to eradicating hate and catalyzing real change in our society. Looking forward, we are committed to promoting acceptance and inclusion, creating safer learning communities, and providing knowledge and information on social issues at the individual, group, and community levels. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Barbara Poma from the One Pulse Foundation, for spending some time by this that. Agree that message certainly what is as far as work that's done by the foundation on the back of something that's so tragic. It's so important. Going back to what previously, Pulse at the time that the tragedy actually struck was hosting a Latin night, and most of the victims, fortunately, were Hispanic. It's the deadliest incident in the history of violence against LGBT+ people in the United States, and the deadliest terrorist attack in the US since the September 11th attacks in 2001. At the time, it was also the deadliest mass shooting by a single gunman in US history, being surpassed a year later by the Las Vegas shooting. A video now follows, kindly prepared for us by Chris Brooks from Pride Picks. I'm going to pass across to Kerry now to tell you a little bit more about what Pride Picks actually does for the LGBT+ community.
That was awkward. Oh my. So Pride Picks are a UK-based LGBT plus business. We are a group of about 12-ish photographers, stemming from every branch of the LGBT plus umbrella. We specialise in capturing the experience of Pride goers and their friends in pictures and film. They have a depth of experience in both photography and within the LGBT plus community for many years. And we want to share our pride and the pride of others with the broadest possible range of people, both in and out of the LGBT plus community, to help destigmatise what it means to be LGBT plus and to portray us in the positive light in which we actually live in.
Thank you, Kerry. Mikey, roll VT.
4 years ago, in Orlando, USA, at the Pulse nightclub, a single terrorist wrought carnage in a packed club. One of our clubs, to our people. A night that should have been all about love, fun, dancing, turned into a night of death, trauma, and hatred, perpetrated by a lone individual, who I won't dignify with a name. Someone very disturbed, supposedly allied to IS, possibly either a closeted gay man or a homophobic individual. No one will know for sure. What we do know, that during those 3 or so hours inside that club, 49 people died, a further 53 were injured, and many more live each day with the horror of that night. These are the facts, pure and simple. Much else is speculation, or tenuous at the least. It's true to say that the perpetrator was on the US government person of interest list, and that mistake made. All this happened not under the administration, but under one of the most enlightened presidents of recent times. Outrage, indignation and anger spread across the globe, and condemnation was widespread. But at the same time, and way more significantly, ripples of love spread not just in the USA, but across the planet. Vigils, demonstrations, the laying of flowers, outpourings of support across social media, just some of the ways in which, while politicians pontificated, ordinary people said, this just isn't right in the 21st century. Occurring at the beginning of Pride Month, across the globe, silences were observed impeccably, balloons released, names of the victims recited, and messages of support left. It truly was an amazing time, showing that love wins over hate every time. Now, this wasn't the first attack on an LGBT plus venue. Many have happened all over the world. Here, the Admiral Duncan Bar in London was attacked on a sunny spring Friday, killing 3 people and injuring many others. The reaction was more localised, but still significant, and each year on the 30th of April, the victims are remembered. There will always be those whose views are so twisted by hatred, either religious, political, or psychological, that irrespective of the views of modern society or the changes toward LGBT plus equality, they will still harbour an ingrained hatred of us. Changing laws is easy. Changing hearts and souls takes a lot longer. I guess in some cases, haters will always hate. We see similarities still. If you speak with people in the know, they will tell you that our Pride events are considered to be very vulnerable to attack. And a couple of years back, the security services intercepted and arrested a potential terrorist alleged to be targeting Pride in London. The police and security services placed Pride parades in the top 5 of their terror targets in the UK, presenting organisers with a real dilemma: to either make events terrorist-proof as far as possible, to the point that they become worthless or unidentifiable, in which case the terrorist wins, or to carry on with caution and hope for the best. Currently, in the US, riots are taking place all over the country, protesting the death of George Floyd, a black American killed by Minneapolis police officers during an arrest. He and the black community in the USA, like many LGBT plus people globally, are subject to oppression and a restriction on basic human rights, a situation that's existed for decades, if not centuries. They are an underclass, and like any underclass, when you're repeatedly oppressed, you have very few options. Like our community at Stonewall, there comes a point when you have to fight. That's why Pride is important, not just as a but as a protest, solidarity for all in the underclass. Most of the people in the Pulse nightclub on that awful night 4 years ago were people of colour or Hispanic, as were some of those who led the riots at the Stonewall Inn over 50 years ago. Their fight was our fight, and our fight is theirs now. Black lives matter. Trans lives matter. In fact, all lives matter. So, on this 4th anniversary of the atrocity of Pulse, we look back rightly and remember, but the greatest way we can respect the memory of those victims is to continue to protest and fight for their rights, and rights for everybody, black, white, LGBT, disabled, and many, many more. Because ultimately, although we are all born equal, it's we who create prejudice, division. Only together can we make that change happen.
Thank you so much to Chris from Pride Picks, and also thank you, Kerry, for saying those wonderful words about what Pride Picks represents. Again, very poignant comments made by Chris with regards to the events that have happened, certainly back then in Orlando, certainly more recently with the events that are currently going on. But we mustn't forget that what those people went through in Orlando at that time and what they're continuing to still commemorate and remember of the events of that evening still rings very raw and very true in a lot of people's hearts.
So I'm going to give a few more details of the event. It is quite harrowing, so I apologise for anyone who finds this quite difficult to hear. But during the attack, 50 people died in the incident, including Mateen, and another 58 were injured, 53 by gunfire and 5 by other causes. Some of the survivors suffered critical injuries, many underwent surgery, 39, including Mateen, were pronounced dead at the scene, and 11 at local hospitals. Of the 38 victims to die at the scene, 20 died on the stage area and dance floor, 9 in the nightclub's northern bathroom, 4 in the southern bathroom, 3 on the stage, 1 in the front lobby, and 1 out on the patio. At least 5 of the dead were not killed during the initial volley of gunfire by Mateen, but instead died during the hostage situation in the bathroom. We now have a video kindly provided by Jamie Wake from Friends of Dorothy. The Friends of Dorothy Society, commonly abbreviated to FODS, is a bell-ringing society for lesbians, gay, bisexual and transgender people and their friends. The society is based in the United Kingdom, but has members throughout the world, particularly in the United States of America and Australia. The society takes its name from the euphemism Friend of Dorothy, which means gay man. The society started following a notice placed in The Ringing World, a frequently published bell ringing publication, in May 1991. The notice aimed to assemble a band to ring for the London Pride Festival that year. A number of people responded to the notice, and the bells of St. Martin in the Fields in Trafalgar Square were rung that year at the parade. The society holds a spring tour and an autumn tour each year. The first tour was in Bristol in October 1991, and since then, members of the society have toured many cities throughout the United Kingdom. Their first international tour was held in May 2006, when members visited Washington, D.C. The society's membership is ever increasing. Peals are rung several times each year. There are annual spring and autumn tours, and the society rings for London Pride and Brighton Pride.
Thank you, Tom. Mikey, please can you roll the VT?
Hi there. My name is Jamie Wake, and I'm humbled to have been asked by MyUmbrella to speak about the atrocities that took place in Orlando in June 2016. I need to be honest and admit that for me, much of that year is a blur. I entered the year having just suddenly lost my husband, so I was on autopilot and existing in a thick haze of grief. But I do vividly remember the Orlando shootings at the Pulse nightclub. Strangely, I don't remember speaking at the vigil we held in Reading, but somehow I remember attending a vigil in Wokingham and getting so angry that the local MP didn't acknowledge or refer to the LGBT element of the attacks. But unfortunately, in 2016, many other people would also end up grieving for their loved ones as well. Let's be clear. Whilst the atrocities in Orlando that horrified us all were an act of terror, they were also a homophobic and transphobic attack, a hate crime. Some media outlets at the time downplayed the gay hate involved in the attack, and even the Pope made a statement without acknowledging that the victims were LGBT. And yet this was the biggest attack in modern history that targeted the LGBT community, our community. The result of this attack meant that there were continued consequences that lasted beyond the bloodshed. Some people would have been outed, the choice having been taken out of their hands. Some people would have found out that their loved ones were gay at the same time they found out they were dead. Some people who survived would have been too scared to even tell people that they're there at the club on that night. And some people who were planning to get married together would have their families planning their funerals together instead. Like many other people around the world, I felt like we had lost members of our own community, even though we live oceans apart. We share a history with those that lost their lives, and we share our struggles to find acceptance. We share a world that is at times so tough to live in, and we share aspirations of a life free of hate and discrimination. Looking back at the time, it was impossible to navigate social media without people assigning blame. You know, it's very easy to point fingers, so we must never single out any one religion. After all, you can find monsters in all faiths. I'm not religious, but my understanding of religion is that of love and compassion for your fellow man. The shooter, the person who is to blame, this monster did not represent his religion, a creed or race, but he acted in hatred and homophobia. It's here in the aftermath of the horrors in Orlando that we must stand together and turn our grief into activities that provide positive benefits for the future. As we can see, even now, discrimination hasn't ceased. The legacy of the victims in Orlando has to be the changes that must follow. We may all stand on the shoulders of that legacy, but us here now need to be the shoulders that the next generation is able to stand on, so that similar horrific attacks never happen again. United, we need to be the beacon of hope for the future and show that even the smallest of actions can really make the biggest of differences. Before he passed away, my late husband, Selwyn, asked me to write something for a speech he had to give at a Reading Pride launch about why the world still needs Pride festivals. Sadly, what he said then is still very relevant today, and I'd like to share with you what he said. There are still countries where homosexuality is illegal and punishable by death. Let's not forget that. There are still teenagers committing suicide throughout the world because they believe there is something wrong with them. Let's not forget that. There are still members of the UK government that believe that homosexuality is wrong. Let's not forget that. And there are still extremists that preach that homosexuality is a sin. Let's not forget that. Whilst these views and others exist, there is still a need for us to fight for change. After all, the first Pride was a riot, with a single brick being the catalyst for our freedom. Many years on, we stopped throwing bricks and started throwing parties instead. And today, we need to start throwing metaphorical pebbles. Whenever I'm asked to speak, I like to always end on a message of hope. No matter how hot the burning embers of hate are, I believe that our unity as a community can help ignite the flames of love and compassion for all of us. Wherever you are watching this from, we can all do our part. Whether we like it or not, we are all ambassadors for equality. Orlando showed us that we still have a way to go, but through attending events such as Pride, we can educate those that do not understand and continue working towards eliminating discrimination and show the world that it really is okay to be you.
Thank you very much, Jamie, friend of Dr. Again, many very poignant points made there by Jamie. Certainly very reflective regards Miriam and how he and chosen to remember victims. What now follows is a further video kindly provided by Lorna McCardle from Support You. Many of you may have seen her before and may recognise her from some of our previous episodes. Support You are a leading lesbian, gay, bisexual and transgender help and support service which is based in the South East of England, and also very good friends of Reading Pride and MyUmbrella LGBT. The Support You service is run by a dedicated team of volunteers who are responsible for delivering the help and support available through their website, their telephone lines, and also their face-to-face sessions. Support You are funded through private and corporate donations, and they receive some great help from their partners who offer their services to them at reduced cost. In 2014, their offices moved to premises in 15 Castle Street in Reading, and they've been there ever since. Their wellbeing centre is located 5 minutes from Reading train station and 2 minutes from the Oracle shopping centre. The expansion itself allowed them to offer a broader range of groups and additional counselling services for the LGBT+ community. Following this video, we will also be showing a slide of all of those individuals who sadly lost their lives during this tragic event, and we will be observing a 2-minute silence to reflect on these lost lives. Mikey, if you'd be kind enough to run the VT, thank you.
Today we reflect that on June the 12th in 2016 in Orlando, there was a targeted attack on an LGBT+ nightclub. Today we remember the 49 people killed and the wounding of 53 others. It's vitally important that we remember them, that this type of attack can happen anytime and from anywhere. Many will say, that's America, it wouldn't happen here. Well, it did. In 1999, London nail bombings was a series of bomb explosions in London over 3 successive weekends between the 17th and the 30th of April. They were homemade nail bombs and were detonated respectively in Brixton, Brick Lane, and then Admiral Duncan pub in Soho. Each of those bombs contained up to 1,500 4-inch nails. They were in holdalls that were left in the public places. Those bombs killed 3 people, including a pregnant woman, and injured 140 people, 4 of whom lost their limbs. When our own is targeted, we are all being targeted. This brings with it anxiety, depression and isolation in people, scared to leave their homes, only wanted to speak to other LGBT+ people. Now, if you feel like this, then please seek out the allies and seek out us. They are everywhere. They carry the rainbow on their lanyards and they wear a badge. By bringing like-minded people together and supporting each other is vital in times like these. When we see our fellow humans in pain due to the inequality of society, stand with them. Whether we are talking about Black Lives Matter or LGBT+ pride, it is important for us to stand together when things get tough. For those who are a person of colour and LGBT+, then see how discrimination works on a daily basis. Let's not waste any more time on those who seek to discriminate, trying to cause us harm. because together we are stronger. Let's get behind those who wish to make change for the better for everyone and not just their friends or for themselves. The time is now to look outside our bubbles and ask why people feel alone, scared and unheard. Let them know that we will keep them safe and make them feel a little safer knowing we hear them. Because when tomorrow comes, there will be more targets on all of us because someone will think they have the right to choose for us how we live our lives. So rest in peace, Orlando 49. Rest in peace, the London 3. And rest in peace, thousands of trans people and people of colour. We will remember you.
Thank you so much to Lorna for kindly providing that video and also some of the comments that Lorna. Thank you to everybody that joined us with the back of a number of those videos. We appreciate that everyone watching may have found some of the previous videos and information that we have divulged very striking and also incredibly difficult. For those people out there at the beginning of our particular podcast that I stated may be a bit of a trigger, muted this, but still wanted to continue to watch. So we've now ended the discussion as far as the events that happened with the event itself. Looking at those people that are actually watching and certainly looking at the lack of comments that have appeared in the chat room itself, we appreciate that this has been a very somber episode of Under the Brolly and certainly not our normal, what we'd advise, chirpy, bubbly, happy. However, we would like to reassure everybody within the LGBT plus community that there is a glimmer of hope and there is so much work being done out there and certainly a lot that has been done since those events. I'd like to go over to Mateen now from Reading Pride, just really to share his comments and thoughts with regards to the events from that particular terrible tragedy 4 years ago and how that made you feel, Mateen.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, horrendous when you look at the ages there. It's very sad, in prime of life, out for a good night, and to have that end in such a way. Unfortunately, I didn't hear the videos because I lost sound, so I do apologize if I repeat anything that has been said. I think one of the key things for me is what we do as a society subsequent to that event. At Barack Obama in power, a huge advocate for the LGBT and many other minority groups in America. I know there's a lot going on at the moment, and that may be the reason why the White House hasn't shown any support for LGBT in terms of colouring the White House like Barack Obama's administration did. So it's a bit of an unfair comparison at the current climate. But I do have a very strong personal opinion that the current administration wouldn't have done, irrespective of the current situation. And that leads me on to the point that as a society, as a group, as an individual, we all have an important role to play. And that is ensuring that you are selecting the right local candidates and right government for you and the community and the population at large. If you think that a lot of these individuals that cause these atrocities are often lone individuals that think that they are supporting a wider group, a wider community, think that they're going to get adulation for it, even to maybe a higher power, and they're usually misguided, delusional, and often have mental health issues. If you are inclined to elect a government that is looking to reduce funding for the NHS, reduce funding for the police, not have in their manifesto, in their policy, education of LGBT and other minority groups in schools, then we are looking to a bleak future. But I do strongly believe that we are a democracy like America, a strong democracy. Common sense will prevail. Justice, fairness, equality will prevail. I mean, just last year in 2019, you had 7 countries that put in 9 positive effects, like Ecuador, Brazil, Canada changed a few policies, Taiwan, Puerto Rico. So globally, things are moving, I believe, in the right direction. There was one country that did go backwards. Russia's gone a little bit backwards, but it's all very political, and people need to remember that when they're making their decisions, to ensure that the focus is on the right area for you and the society and the community, and that we strive for being better.
Fantastic. Thank you very much indeed. I know you've already probably covered this a little bit more as far as what you've stated previously, but how far do you think the LGBT plus community moved forward since this time? And in particular, I know that Reading Pride, with the current lockdown issues that certainly a lot of different Pride events and organisations have been experiencing, what have Reading Pride been planning to do in order to support the LGBT plus community?
Yeah, it's very tricky, and what you don't want to do is saturate social media feeds, because unfortunately this is the only platform at the moment in which we can engage with the community. Reading Pride generally is at the end of summer, at the end of the Pride season, so that's where we're going to be focusing the majority of our efforts. In the month leading up to our usual dates, we're planning on holding weekly events, videos, reminders, with the plan, ideally, and it's still in planning at the moment because we've had a bit of time, and also we want to know what the situation with lockdown is, whether we're going to be in a position to do more than the existing price that are on currently. I'm hoping we can get some sort of hybrid events so that there is physical engagement for the local communities that are heavily involved with Reading Pride, get acts, entertainment, education pieces, and then obviously share it virtually amongst the local and wider communities. But unfortunately, I can't give too much information yet because it's still very much in the planning stages. But I'm very excited with what we are coming up with as a committee. So I would say keep an eye out for our Facebook, Insta and website for information. But give us about a month and then hopefully we'll be in a position to share a bit more with you.
That's wonderful. For those people that are actually listening out there as well, what is the actual, so you can find Reading Pride on Facebook by just typing in Reading Pride. Does it link to your website as well, or do you have a website?
So, yeah, readingpride.co.uk. There is another Reading in America that often gets confused with us, but readingpride.co.uk and Facebook, I believe, is Reading Pride UK or something close to that. I probably should know that. I'm going to get into trouble now.
I'm sure that, I mean, anything that comes through, as MyUmbrella is a sub-organisation of Reading Pride, anything that we see come through, we'll make sure that we share on our platform. And I'm sure that a lot of our listeners and our viewers will be all over that as well. And we'll do our very best to spread the word and share the message out there for Reading Pride so that we can be part of that fantastic movement.
Thank you.
Just going to go over to Tom now to see if there's any update in the chat room as far as any comments, any best wishes at all that have been posted in there as a result of some of the content of today's particular podcast.
There isn't a huge amount. It's been quite a quiet session, but I think that's fair enough considering the topic. So I know people, respond to things in different ways. So we just hope that anyone watching this in the future, obviously, if you wanted to reach out and contact us with any, if you felt like you wanted to speak to anyone, and we're not live because you're watching this in the future, obviously get in touch with us. But thank you as well to Wilma and Chris and to Martin as well, who shared the stream, and also to all people who've liked and watched it with us.
Excellent. So really just to kind of finish the podcast itself on a high, really, it's kind of our opportunity really to tell people and certainly tell everyone out there the things that MyUmbrella do in order to continue to move forward for equality and diversity and to certainly grow the support that is essentially so desperately needed out there in the LGBT plus community. So just a couple of did you knows for those people that have watched us previously, you may already know this as well. However, we not only run local social events, but also attend a number of prides and have attended a number of prides across the UK. We've gone as far afield as Edinburgh. And we've also gone to Wales, we've gone to Swansea, we did a couple of other ones as well. Llanelli, we did Llanelli as well, which was lovely. We've also facilitated training events with a number of blue chip organisations and global corporates to present them with what they need to know about LGBT plus community and how to be more inclusive. We also work very closely with Shout Out LGBT Plus Radio with our monthly podcast, which is your normal Under the Brolly, which is the one where you don't get to see our lovely faces. We have an online Etsy store where you can purchase LGBT plus merchandise and our guide to LGBT plus. Details are going to be at the end of the show, but this fantastic 30-page catalogue is an absolute godsend to anybody that is stuck as far as not understanding what all the different identities are, the genders, how to be a good ally, what different types of phobias there are, and if that is a little bit too difficult for people to have to be able to swallow in one fell swoop, we do have our tiny little mini guides available as well, and they are all available on our Etsy shop, which will come up at the end of the show. Last year we supported 21 prides all over the UK, and we travelled a total of 4,000 miles by road and over 1,000 miles by rail. Now, for those of you that want some dates for the diary coming up in the next few weeks, Mikey, who exists out there somewhere in the ether, it's Mikey's birthday on the 21st of June 2020. If you do wish to send him any happy birthday or best wishes, please do so on our Facebook page. And if anyone has any incredibly embarrassing photos of when Mikey was a lot younger, we'll be only too happy to have them emailed to us at info@myumbrella.org.uk, where we can make a beautiful collage on our Facebook page for him. We also have our next podcast is going to be commemorating the date of the Stonewall riots, which was on the 27th of June. And that is something very significant as far as what was mentioned in one of our previous videos as to how the whole Pride movement started. We would love you to get in touch with us. We understand that today's show has been very different as far as what we have done, but we felt it was appropriate and incredibly poignant to remind people of exactly what still goes on out there as far as different communities all striving for the same, which is equality and diversity, and that's all we want. We all want to coexist together without any difficulties, without any fighting. We just want to be able to stand shoulder to shoulder alongside our fellow men and women and just live. So we did feel that this needed to be said today, and we really appreciate everybody who has tuned in and those people that will tune in the future to listen to what we're talking about as well. If you do want to get in touch or you have any other ideas for any future podcasts, please do so. You can email us at info@myumbrella.org.uk. You can also find us on Twitter. Our handle is MyUmbrella UK, and start your tweet with #UnderTheBrolly. Again, as I said previously, you can also find us online on Etsy. You can check out our shop, which is www.etsy.com/UK/shop/MyUmbrella LGBT. We could make that a bit shorter, couldn't we? We really could. Thank you to all of our guests on our videos and for everybody that's helped put the show together. Thank you to Martin for joining us from Reading Pride. We really appreciate you taking time out of your afternoon to be able to join us.
No worries.
Thank you to
A
Kerry.
pleasure. Anytime.
Thanks a lot. Thank you to Kerry as well for your wonderful, wonderful comments about Pride Picks. And I believe the last word, I think, goes to Kerry, if you'll be so kind.
So before we go tonight, I'd like to not only dedicate this podcast to those that died during the Pulse attacks in Orlando, but also to a truly wonderful and inspiring individual who was a big friend and a supporter of MyUmbrella, an amazing advocate for the work that is done by not just MyUmbrella, Reading Pride, but the Reading Refugee Support Group and a number of other charitable organisations. Alice Driver sadly passed away last year on the 6th of June following a long illness that she fought with such bravery. I think the subject of this episode is proof that we all need to be more Alice.